Good evening, ladies and gents. I know this is a bit different on Tuesday night. The Gaffer's Gaff, unfortunately, didn't go ahead today due to certain reasons, but it will be back next week. But to fill the gap, I have honestly got the pleasure of having the wonderful guy that is behind, ironically, the bunch of amateurs on YouTube. The videos that I've watched are brilliant, and I was just saying to Rich before we came live, how he commentates and the way he does his videos is brilliant. Rich, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. No, it's fun to be here.
It's great. It's great to have you, to be honest, mate. A lot of people don't know quite what I do. So when I do my grassroots and non-league, I like to bring people in like yourself that are doing similar stuff to what I'm doing, but in a different manner, if that makes sense. I like to go to games, but obviously games have gone. How did you get into it? How did you get into doing the filming? And you said you followed two clubs at the minute, don't you?
Yeah. So I guess I worked for a TV company for many years, and after I took redundancy, I was left with some money and a camera, and I'd long kind of had the idea of doing a film around amateur football, around grassroots football. So I chatted to a couple of friends, and I said, do you know anyone that manages a team that would be interested in doing something like this with me? And one of them said, yeah, definitely, I know a guy who's exactly like looking for something like this. So he put me in touch with a guy called Peter Barkley, or Barks. Barks was running, well, he was in charge, and he's in charge of Child FC. Child had something like 4 or 5 promotions in 6 years, something like that, because Barks had played at quite a high level, and he had taken some quite high level approaches to fairly low level football, just dragged that club up. So he's taken Child with the highest they've been in 105 years or something that they've existed.
Wow.
So they're at their highest level, and they've kind of reached the ceiling now, because the parish will have to spend money. Parish council would have to spend money to improve the ground that they're at. They don't have dugouts. They've got park benches, but they're at a level now where you need a perimeter around the pitch, where you need dugout, and they don't.
But that's brilliant, though, isn't it? But that's brilliant. They've got all these back-to-back promotions, gone the highest they can go, and they're playing high standard football, and that's the fun of grassroots. Is of that most grounds aren't actually eligible to go to that highest step, because it's at the end of the day, it's a parish council pitch most of the time. It's either a parish council or a local council or a local government pitch that most of these teams are playing on, or school sports fields. So I love that. I love those like the park bench. That's brilliant. That just reminds me of the Sunday league we used to run years ago when I used to play.
There's a really funny quote, and Barks wants to get it put on t-shirts, where one of the opposition players shouted something like, "They don't even have dugouts." And Barks used that in his team talk at half time. He said, "Dugouts don't win games." And that's what we want to use as a tagline, because it really sums things up. But yeah, I mean, for me, initially, I wanted to do Sunday League. I wanted to go as low as possible and take 4K cameras and proper broadcast quality equipment to the lowest form of football. I thought that would be quite funny, like a good contrast. But Barks,
especially for the away team, when they turn up, they see you there, broadcast camera, monitors.
That would have been pretty funny. But Barks was so engaging, and he's so good on camera. He's honest. He doesn't play up to the camera like Mark at Dorking. Neither one of them play up to the camera at all. They are like that, whether my cameras are on or not. That's what I really like about filming them. Barks gets it. He gives me what I need, and he gives me plenty of time. He's got more time to spare than Mark has, for instance. And it's quite fun seeing the difference between those two guys. But I'm probably going to say that in a bit. Ultimately, me and Barks got on really well, and we said, look, let's do something here. So started filming, and the more I filmed, the more experience I got, and the more I built my equipment up. And initially, we weren't planning on doing much on social. I was going to run a Twitter channel just to get some interest in what we were doing. But every game people would say, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to make a film. We're just putting all of this stuff onto hard drives and just going to see where we end up after a year." That was about 2.5 years ago now. No, 2 years ago this month, actually. And when we got into the start of the 2019-2020 season, we now had all of the GoPros, we got the drone, got 4 cameras, got a group of people on a WhatsApp that I could call on to help me. And so from that point, I started editing together weekly videos for the team. And once the season got curtailed, I started showing the guys in the team a video each week, about 20, 30 minutes long of their games. And we looked at that and thought, we could probably do this in the long term. We could probably start releasing games on a weekly basis on YouTube. And I worked in social media as well as production when I worked in TV. So I thought, we've got the skill set for this. We know how to do it. So why not do it? And so ever since the start of this season, we started releasing games weekly, and things have really been snowballing since then.
Yeah. So we've got comments coming in. Evening, lads, with Danny Higgins. Evening, gentlemen. Looking forward to another great Grassroots story, which is always nice to hear. Lewis Barnard, who's one of the other admins, has put, Jack's so excited, like a kid in a sweet shop. Well done, man. Go smash it. The admin lads know how excited I was to get you on. Just because it's somebody that a lot of the people we talk to have the passion I have, but somebody that's using that passion in a different way, which is what I like to do, like you like to do with the videoing and stuff. Lewis has put, having a laugh, United, legends of Sunday League football. That was in the East Midlands. He's put, I'll sort of charity friendly out, having a laugh versus Leicester legends. Rich can come and make a video once lockdown's done. So having a laugh are from a local team where we used to be, but we were in a small town called Melton Mowbray, and we used to play like the teams from Leicester and Northampton in the County Cup. Lewis's team managed to get all the way to the semi-final, and they didn't just get to the semi-final, they thrashed every team they played on the way to the semi-final. So that's what he's always looking to do, a charity game with loads of different teams. We'll one day have a game with the Armchair Pundits. Mate, I'm not fit enough to play anymore. One of the main things is I watched your videos, and there was a Dorking one that I really liked. Where I don't know if it was the Dorking goalkeeper or the away goalkeeper, had an absolute, like the first 5 minutes of the game, he's basically just saving absolutely everything put at him. Is that what made you fall in love with Grassroots and non-league? Because you can't predict what's going to happen in the game. Top of the league can play bottom of the league, and there's a very high chance that bottom of the league might turn up on that day and beat them.
It's an interesting question. Like what I'm in love with non-league football now, having spent so much time on it. And I can't sincerely say that I was at the start. I've always had friends playing. I mean, I didn't play from the early 20s onwards. I wasn't a particularly good footballer. And I'm a Charlton supporter, so I was at Charlton every week.
Yeah. But that's a bit like watching Grassroots football, isn't it?
Not when I was in my 20s, but yeah, more so.
All right, fair enough. I'll let you off there. I'll let you off.
Yeah, when I was certainly when I was younger, when I was about 21, 22, my friend started a Sunday League team, and I broke my foot, and I was supposed to be in goal, and I broke my foot the week before the season started, and I just got my first ever camera, so I couldn't play for 3 to 6 months. I started filming them, and it's the first time I'd had a camera, first time I'd had edit equipment, and so I was playing around back then, and I always thought it would be really fun to do stuff with it. Fast forward to now, and that's kind of where I really cut my teeth. That's 15, nearly 20 years ago now. So back then I had an affinity for non-league and Grassroots. That really was as low as it goes on a Sunday, Division 4 of the Red Hill District Sunday League. But it wasn't until I got maybe a month or two into filming with Charwood that the bug really bit me. And I remember there was one game in particular when I desperately wanted them to score, and it was the first time I'd experienced that outside of Charlton in my entire life. Maybe England, when England play, but other than Charlton,
I think that's probably one of the games. I think anybody, whether it's Grassroots or Premier League fans, England's probably the second team they most want to score. You say about it being a bug, because it really is a bug, isn't it? I think a lot of people, if they gave it a chance and went and watched a local game, even if it's non-league, even if it's like tier 3. Like your non-leagues, your South, your North. Yeah. Once they've watched one game and experienced the atmosphere and, to be honest, even the quality of football down in tier 7 or bottom end of tier 7, some of the games are really good. The pitch is probably not that great, but the football itself is actually really good. One of the main things I want to talk to you about is there's a lot going around at the minute. Like you said before we went on live, about you just really want the season to be finished. You don't want Dorking to have to give up on this season. And I can see why, because they sat pretty in second place in their division. They've had some great results. The FA Trophy as well, they're playing in that this season. Do you think it's a bit of a kick at it if they don't do a points per game sit and Dorking end up in the same division next year. Do you think that's a bit of a kick in teeth to the guys behind the scenes that have worked so hard to get this season played at the beginning of the season?
It is. I think more than anything, they want the season to go on because they want the weekly life to keep going. I think first and foremost, what Mark wants as manager and chairman is to make sure that the people who work there get to work there. Dorking, make no mistake about it, Dorking are going up. They're going pretty high. I don't know where their ceiling is going to be. I don't know what level they're going to stop at, but it's not National League South. They're going to make the National League. If it's not this season, it'll be next season. The way that they're run, I was talking to a former Premier League player who's been there, hanging around there recently, and he was saying that he came in and he thought this is basically a championship club, the way it's run and the facilities that they've got. So I don't think that it's a major issue for them to not go up this year. I think they want it to keep going because everything that's involved, all the volunteers, all the people that work there want to be able to go there every week, and he wants the fans back in because it means so much to them. So yeah, I think it would be a kick in the teeth from that point of view. And yeah, of course, they're in a great position, so they do want the season to go on, and financially they're in a better place than a lot of other clubs as well. So, but they're sympathetic to that. When I interview Mark about this, and of course we're a couple of weeks behind with what we release, so the stuff he's telling me about it now won't be out for a couple of weeks. But the stuff he's telling me is that he fully understands other clubs. I said to him, "Are you going to lobby other clubs to convince them to keep the season going?" And he's like, "No, that would be disrespectful because there are clubs there that can't afford to go and have got their own reasons to not to vote against continuing." So I think they're all fully aware of the bigger picture. It's just so very, very, very frustrating because things are going so well for them at the moment.
Yeah, it's one of them things. I think I've spoke to a couple of people. I've spoke to a couple of ground hoppers. I've got so many people lined up next couple of weeks. I'm absolutely buzzing about it. The lads are laughing at me because I'm going, I've got this person, and they're going, who's that? And I'm going, but you don't understand like how big this person is in non-league. Like a lot of people like him. The Oldham ground hopper, I've got him coming on. I've had a quick conversation with him. I spoke to a couple of Boston United fans. I've got Ollie Bayliss on Monday, which he's Mr. Non-League. He's BBC's Free Counties non-league presenter. He's all about non-league. Anything that comes out about non-league, he's all over it. And for me, the main thing across all the clubs is, as much as they would love the season to go on, they also don't want to see other clubs demise or just disappear. And that's the problem. We want, all of us non-league grassroots players, we want the seasons to happen. And if they don't happen, they avoid the leagues, and there's not much going on about it, we're going to lose teams. But if we force other teams that financially really cannot afford to carry on now, they are going to disappear forever. Then we're going to end up with clubs like Bury, Wimbledon, one of them. Wimbledon's one of them. They had to turn themselves into another club. But
yeah, I think there's more sympathy across non-league than there is in the professional league. That's my perception, at least. I think that the clubs in the National League will understand each other's problems far more than, say, the Championship and League One would. I think in those levels, it's a bit more dog eat dog, and they're looking after themselves, perhaps. But at non-league level, I think they're all in it together, and they all understand the problems that each other face. As you say, there are people there working behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't realise it. Non-league clubs realise what goes into it, so they know what the other non-league clubs are all about. Whereas, in League One, you've got Sunderland and Charlton, who are at least perceived to have a fair bit of money compared to the teams that are down the bottom, and perhaps there isn't quite that same level as camaraderie.
I think a lot of the stuff as well, you've got to remember that non-league fans, when it comes to non-league, like South or even down to grassroots, the fans, whether there's 20 turning up, which is a tier 7 kind of looking, or up towards the National League, their bread and butter are their loyal fans, because most of these non-league clubs are in or around big League 2, League 1, Championship, Premiership teams. For them to even manage to get a big amount of fans through the door is hard work enough. I know there's a lot of social media teams that I've spoke to, unfortunately, haven't come on the show because of, their stance on certain things, and they want to do everything properly through club statements. But the main thing for them was that they understand the safety behind it, but they also feel hard done by, because there's clubs. in League One and League Two who really don't need the money that they're being given because they are safe, that they are sustainable, and they've got the fan base, and people buy the iFollow passes to watch them and buy shirts and have done what they can for the club. But for non-league clubs, these are fans that really don't have the money to have a season ticket at Chelsea or Sunderland or Charlton. These are people that will happily go and pay £8 on the gate and go and watch a good game of football. And I think people forget about that. I think especially fans, people that don't understand the non-league, the pyramid below League Two.
I think
it's
the thing that I've noticed most over the last 2 years is, I mean, it's a philosophical thing, and it's pretty obvious, but what matters to you is what you put value into. So, it's incredibly important to me when Charlton put the ball in the back of the net. That's when I get the biggest thrill. But who's to say that that's more valuable than Child or Dorking putting the ball in the back of the net? Or nobody. Yeah, there's more money up there in that game, and there are more people there. But that doesn't mean that the ball hitting the back of the net is any less meaningful at a lower level. And that's a lesson that I've learned, is that the quality of football might be lower, but as you say, there is still some very good football. There's one of the Charlwood goals, which I don't know if it's on the YouTube channel yet, because I think it's from the season before, but it's a 17 pass movement before it hits the back of the net. It's a brilliant goal. It's back to front. It goes to every player and ends with an 18-yard curler. Like, you couldn't ask for more, and that's in a game that's free to watch. And since they've gone into the Mid Sussex Prem, they're now getting, or across to the Combination League, they're now getting something like 80 fans turning up. So there are people that realise it, but I think you just got to watch a couple of games, and then you've got an affinity for that side, and suddenly you're like, yeah, I do want them to score, and this does matter as much. I don't think I've seen goal reactions that are every bit as passionate at that level as any other level. Yeah.
Danny's put, people forget how expensive it is to run a club at that level. Yeah, I think me and Rich have been in and around enough clubs and managers to realise the financial strain of a club. Lewis Barnard has put, Rich has got a great voice and fantastic knowledge. Would he like to come on the late night show, let his hair down, maybe have a beer, cheeky swear word, and maybe a fishing comment? It would be great live and even better podcast. Lewis, mate, stop trying to nick my guests whilst they're on to me. For me, the main thing about getting people like yourself on is not only it helps me talk to people that know what I want to talk about, but also helps you. So, bunch of amateurs. How did you come up with a name?
I can't remember now. It was we had 2 or 3 names that we were kicking about, and I really liked Bunch of Amateurs. And there was like, oh, but there's an old film called that, and a couple of other things. I'm like, no, I don't care. We're just going to keep pushing it. And as long as I needed a logo, so I asked my friend to make a logo for me, and he never got round to it, so I made my own logo. It was just a case of putting it together and just hoping it stuck. And it did. Bunch of Amateurs really stuck. And as you say, it's kind of ironic because we're trying to look as professional as possible. And yet we're called amateurs. So, it's not, is it about us? And initially, I've got, because of where I worked before, I've got contacts in the film world. And I took the very first person I spoke to is a woman who works in a film distribution company. And I took it to her, had a coffee with her and said, hey, Liz, what do you think about this? And she was all for it. It's a great idea, but I'm not sure about the name. I don't think it's going to travel internationally. And I thought, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're going to go international yet. So
I don't think people in Scandinavia are going to be too bothered about amateur football in the UK. But it could get there because our page is set up by a bunch of amateurs. We've all played football around each other. We've all played football around, all up and down the country. And we're hitting places like Kenya and Iceland. I think one of them was South Africa. And when I say South Africa, like in the middle of South Africa. And we couldn't believe it when the guy was, oh, yeah. And when he came on the video to us, like literally his internet was better than half of our admins. And he was speaking about Africa and how the African nations and stuff like that, South Africa and Africa, they love watching amateur English football because it's raw. There's no diving or placebo or my face. It's that. We're coming towards where we want to cut it off because Rich is a very busy man. I'm lucky enough to have him for 20.
I'll give you a few more minutes. Yeah, I can push it. I can push up on that.
No worries. So the Bunch of Amateurs, guys, it's on YouTube. Rich has reached out to TikTok, where I found him. TikTok and YouTube are very key platforms, especially for what you do, because TikTok. So instead of somebody having to sit there and watch a 20-minute video the first time they ever watch you, you can give them a little snippet of something really great. If you guys want to have a look, go and have a look at his YouTube. Honestly, some of the videos on there are brilliant. Some of the goalkeeping saves, some of the goals, some of the language, which I love that you put that at the start of your video. Anything you want to talk about?
Actually. Yeah, the language thing. Mark at Dorking doesn't mind it being warts and all. Barks at Charwood is a teacher, so anytime he has to swear, we've got to cut it out. So I've had to convince him to not swear because I'm tired of having to cut that out. It's just too much hassle. But Mark is fine with it. I give both managers an opportunity to make changes if there's anything in there they really don't like. But that's part of getting the access that we do. But I did want to mention the fact that with Mark and Barks, although they're both non-league managers, they are worlds apart. And I really like that we get to show. So Mark, for instance, he owns the club. He turns up a couple of hours before kickoff. Things are generally taken care of because he's got people in the right place to do it. Barks has to turn up at 10:30 in the morning and put the nets out, get the goals ready for the players to sort out. He has to get the drinks ready. He's got to put the kits out. Everything like that is done by a one-man band compared to a manager at the top of the non-league ladder who's got everything sorted for him. I think that's quite a nice contrast for us to have. And quickly on TikTok, we only launched on that 2 weeks ago, and the response has been absolutely incredible. We're knocking on 2 million views in 16 days, and we weren't expecting that. And we were just throwing up clips that we had to hand. And we're like, oh God, we're actually going to start taking this quite seriously because people are really buying into it. And to your point about having people internationally, I remember being taught a long, long time ago at college that if you want to tell stories, you've got to tell universal themes. And while English football is quite specific to England, there are things in there that will translate, go across, language boundaries. And there are things, and the thing that I like the most is that you'll see stuff at the lowest level that is almost identical to the top level. And Chelsea had their, and so you got a Chelsea t-shirt on. Chelsea had their finalist released a year or so back, and you could see how much it cost them if a mobile phone went off during a team talk, and it's 10 grand fine. Child have got the same list, they always have done, but it's a £5 fine or a £1 fine. The lists are almost identical, but it was 10, 20 grand, 100 grand for turning up late to training or whatever it was. £5, £1 for getting nutmegged if you're at Charlwood. So that stuff that works levels is the same. I just think is hilarious.
To be honest with you, it's been an absolute great chat. And if you didn't have something to do tonight, I would have sat on here for hours with you. Rich has been an awesome guest. We're going to probably have Rich on in the future when football is back, or maybe I'll go up and go see Rich, do a bit of filming of Rich filming, which I'm sure he'll be very pleased with. But guys, Lewis is still saying, Rich, what are you saying now? I'm honestly, can you come on my show? That's up to Rich. If you want to get a hold of Rich, just go to the bunch of amateurs on TikTok, Lewis, because Lewis, you know how to use TikTok. Drop him a message. I'm sure you can probably have a conversation with him about something there.
We can probably sort something in.
Yeah, bunch of amateurs on YouTube and TikTok. Guys, don't forget that all the shows that I do and every show the Armchair Pundits do that are allowed to be put into broadcast, let's use words like that, because we do have some late night shows that sometimes are a bit tongue-in-cheek. We'll be going on to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also Anchor Podcasts. So don't forget to do that. And before we finish, we always mention the end of the thing. We are massive supporters of Unlock Your You, which is a mental health charity that's there for everybody across the country. We know it's hard times. We know football brings people together, and that's kind of been stripped away from us. And hopefully being a part of our page, you get to kind of get a feeling of football, and you get to see stuff about football still. So don't forget, don't struggle in silence. There's loads of help out there, and Unlock Your You are massive at the moment. They're helping so many people, and we respect everything they do. Rich, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to see the content you've got coming out in the next few weeks. Take care, stay safe. Guys, this has been the Tap Grassroots Show, which is being rebranded to Grassroots Corner because I've decided Grassroots Show is just too plain. But thank you very much, Rich. Anybody you want to give a shout out to or
Yes,
special mention before you go?
Well, I just thank everyone for watching and getting involved, because for me, the fact that I'm doing a hobby effectively, we have got to monetize it, but the fact that I'm doing a hobby and people are responding to it and watching it is blowing my mind. So, you know, thank you for enjoying it, frankly.
Lovely. Guys, you look after yourself and stay safe. We will be back. There's loads of show this week. Watch out for them. There's polls and everything in our group. And I will be back with you hopefully on Monday. And if not, it might be sooner. Thank you very much.